Subscribe to Motoroids for the most in-depth and detailed car and bike reviews. Hit that bell icon and you will be notified before everyone else.
Hi guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Karan and today we have Honda's newest entrant in the 160cc segment. It's called the Honda X Blade. Launched at the Auto Expo this year, this bike is Honda's newest attempt at the 160cc segment, and it sits in that space along with two of its other brothers, which is the CB Unicorn and the Honda Hornet. So while one of them is a naked, one of them is more like an urban commuter, not as much stylish. For someone who wants style and still wants a 160cc bike, this is it, and this is what it looks like. Looks very fantastic in our opinion, and the highlight of this motorcycle is this new Robocop shaped headlight, as they call. It's an all LED unit, and high beam, low beam, everything is an LED. Even the position light here is an LED unit. The trafficators are pretty high set, as you can see here, and surprisingly, although this motorcycle gets a front disc brake, there is no CBS or ABS which you get even as an option. There is no rear disc brake, and the other thing is that this front disc brake, although it looks pretty sharp by the looks of it, right at the lever, it feels rather mushy when you grab the front brake. Although it does its job rather well, we would have liked for that front disc brake to be a little more sharp maybe. Moving over to the sides, what you get here is a two-toned front fender and this bright reflector on the sides for safety, and this headlamp which sort of protrudes out in an alien sort of way. It looks rather nice. Two-tone treatment here on the tank too. You get X-Blade branding over here. Really nice cuts for this fender, which runs rather deep here. A little for carbon fiber finish over here as well, which also extends over to the tank right here. Sort of piano black finish over here. A few graphics that you see here. Some cuts and slashes here too. A small little grill here. 160cc badging right there. Some for carbon fiber finish there as well. And this rear panel, which sort of protrudes right outside and looks rather very muscular. And this seat, which Honda tells us it's pretty long to keep you comfortable. Not very soft though, slightly firm, but after about 300-kilometer ride I was pretty comfortable, so no complaints there. If you have a pillion hood be here, it's pretty good space. Not very narrow, not very wide either, but good enough for short distances, say about 50, 60, 70 kilometers. Depends on how fit the person that is, whoever is sitting here. This very neat looking tire hugger is what you get along with this bike. This exhaust system, which interestingly has two outlets to make this motorcycle sound a little throaty, but that's not really the case because it's only about after 4,000 or 5,000 RPM that this bike makes a little amount of noise. For this exhaust system with its twin outlets, let me just fire this up to make you hear what this sounds like. There you have it. It gives a little more vocals to the already smooth engine, but sounds quite nice. Mrf rubber at the rear, which is a tubeless tire. It's a 130 by 70 section, which interestingly is slightly narrower than the rubber size that you get on the Hornet. And at the rear you get a monoshock, which is adjustable. Although in its standard setting, it's set to be slightly on the firmer side, and you do feel a few undulations even on everyday roads. But when you two up, things settle down and everything's ironed out quite nicely. At the rear over here you have this interesting tail light, which is more like a B2 bomber shaped light, and it drops a bomb sort of a thing once you hit the brake pedal. At the back you also have these stylish blacked out grab rails, which look rather nice, and they're pretty easy to hold to for the pillion. Unlike most of the bikes where the sari guard is probably just an afterthought, this one seems to have been designed with some thought and looks rather nice. From the rider's point of view, you have this all digital instrument console which has this rev counter that goes right up to 11,000. The bike will rev to 11,000 RPM as well. And over here you get a gear indicator which is quite nifty. You get your speed here, there's a clock, there is an odometer and 2 trip meters that you see here, a digital fuel gauge and this service indicator. Our bike's rather brand new, it hasn't been serviced yet, not even the first one, so that one's due. That's the spanner you see when the service is due. Some amount of carbon fiber finish here as well. And by the way, this entire digital display is backlit in white. You get your telltale lights here, that's your neutral, that's your high beam. There's also this tiny windscreen which will protect you from wind blasts when you're out there on the open road, but then it's rather tiny, so you will have to tuck behind it neatly for this thing to be efficient. The other thing what we think would have been done better are these stems for the rear view mirrors, which are quite short, and if you probably have wide arms, then there's not much that you'd be able to see at the back. So we think these could have been longer, the stems. Over here you get these nice looking bar and weights which do their job very well. And if we talk about the switchgear now, this is for your high and low beam. This is pass switch over here, and this switch is for the turn indicator which you just push to cancel, that's horn. And like most of the Honda bikes, you don't get an engine kill switch here, but what you do get is a hazard lamp switch for some reason on a motorcycle, but that's okay. That's the electric starter here. All it needs is a push for the motorcycle to start that way, and that is it. Talking about this flat handlebar, I would also like to take an opportunity to get on the bike and show you how comfortable or otherwise this one is. Now I'm almost about 6 feet and my feet land firmly on the ground. These pegs are only slightly rear set, so the seating position in tandem with the pegs and in relation with the pegs and these flat bars, it's comfortable. Not very commuterish, not very sporty either, finds a nice middle ground. This tank, by the way, holds 12 liters of fuel. This is not a fuel injected bike, so you do have your good old reserve as well. So talking about looks alone, this motorcycle is for someone who wants a 160cc machine, which is for the city, for that odd weekend ride, if you may. And if you probably don't like the naked looks of the Hornet or the plain staid looks of the CB Unicorn, this is a very stylish machine. We did have a lot of people admiring it, giving us nice stares, looks and everything, and even asking us questions. So a very sharply designed, aggressive looking machine, something which will indeed appeal to the youth. Now let's talk about the on-road performance of the Honda X-Blade, what happens when you ring that throttle. Talking about this motor, it's shared with the CB Unicorn 160 and the Hornet, although interestingly it makes almost 1 bhp more than the Hornet and 0.1 bhp more than the CB Unicorn. This is a 162cc engine and it's rated for 13.9 bhp at 8,000 rpm and 13.9 Newton meters of torque at 6,000 rpm. Now what it feels like on the go, from a standstill, the engine is very smooth, it's very refined, it takes off very nicely, and clutch action is very light. What happens is the motor develops the meat of its power in the mid-range between 4.5 to about 8,000 rpm, and it's pretty much vibration or buzz free within that range. However, you do get this very mild tingling sensation on the foot pegs and near your thighs over here on the tank. Other than that, this is a pretty smooth, refined, vibe-free motor. Talking about the top speed, if you have wind on your side with some tailwind and probably slight slope, this motorcycle can also hit 130 kilometers per hour on this digital speedometer. If you're going in the opposite direction though, it's almost about 115 or 116 kilometers that you will see on this digital display. Talking about economy, this motorcycle will give you about 55 to 60 kilometers per liter in the real world out on the highway. In the city, that figure could be about 45 to 50, depends on how you ride the motorcycle. If you are very generous with your throttle inputs, that number could probably drop a little lower too. Now, along with the performance, if we talk about the way this thing handles and rides, the suspension, especially the rear spring, is set up slightly on the firmer side. But it's a fair middle ground that it finds, neither too plush, neither too stiff, so it's good enough for everyday use. But if you probably do find the rear spring to be a little too stiff for your liking, you can probably make it go a step or two softer. For finding a middle ground between aggressive and everyday, the X-Blade handles fairly well. It goes around corners rather nicely too, and these Mrf tyres, although not very grippy, they're par for the course, and in this segment as good as things can get. At 78,500 rupees ex-showroom Delhi, the Hornet is slightly more expensive. The CB Unicorn, which is not as stylish, is slightly lesser expensive. This one does everything well. It's a Honda, so it's well made, it's reliable, it looks very stylish, and if you want a motorcycle in the 160cc segment which is very stylish, does everything well, is well priced, returns a decent fuel efficiency, and also offers a fair bit of performance to match those good looks, well, this is the X-Blade that you need to shave your everyday commutes with. So all in all, it gets a big thumbs up from us, and that should be it from us right here. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button to receive notifications about all our new upcoming content, and thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time then, my name is Karan, this is Motoroids, goodbye.